Well, I suppose talking of people we can't see, we may actually have a link there to our first film, which is the Charlie Kaufman vehicle, I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
Yes, and Charlie Kaufman has, I suppose, long been the mass-market acceptable face of art house nonsense, at least up until the confounding Synecdoche, New York crater at the box office, perhaps proving a touch beyond the upper limits of most people's tolerance for art house nonsense. Hell, as a more often than not lover of art house nonsense myself, it was well beyond my tolerance, and I'm sad to say, up front, that this is very much the case for his latest I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which will perhaps colour the lack of effort that I'll be putting into this review going forward. The film is framed around a trip by a variably named young woman, played by Jessie Buckley, and her boyfriend, Jesse Plemons' Jake, taking a car trip to meet Jessie's parents, played by Tony Collette and David Thewlis. The drive is beset with some relatively meaningful conversation interspersed with the young woman's occasional drifts into reverie, which, from my adult memory, perhaps sets up the themes that I think Kaufman's hoping to explore in the next section, but I may be giving it a little bit too much credit in that regard. And in said next section, the awkward visit to Jake's parents' farm. It jumps around so much in time, character history and narrative that there's really no point in me trying to explain any of it, and as far as I'm concerned, attempting to divine any meaning from it. It's very much Synecdoche, New York levels of confounding art house nonsense, and I'm very much not here for it. Perhaps I'm being a little bit too close-minded, and I can see that if you're looking at this more as a text to read and interpret, then you may get a great deal more out of this. Personally, I think it's asking a little bit too much of the audience to reconstruct quite so much of the meaning of, well, everything in the film, and I found myself entirely checked out of things by the end. There's clearly lots of good work going on here, from committed performances from all of the cast and all of the technical details and the arbitrary dance number, but it's all in service of something that's, if not entirely impenetrable, at least more effort than I consider it worth to penetrate. Missus. I'm Thinking of Ending Things is not, I suppose, in the technical sense of things, a bad film. It is, however, a film I roundly hated and hope to never think of again. So, strong non-recommend. Drew, did you make anything of this? Am I just being very dense here? Did I not see the obvious messages in all of this?
To be honest, Scott, I think to a degree, yes, but a lot of it is quite obtuse. So, if you're not invested in it at all, I can see why you wouldn't see them and why you wouldn't care to look for them. And that may be one of the bigger issues with the film. I was quite enjoying bits of the film, certainly. I found that I was quite enjoying the conversation between the car, particularly in the car ride at the start. And there's a lot of strange stuff going on. And I wasn't really sure what to make of it for a while. And then there's all these strange jumps happening. I'm thinking, well, clearly it's a dream then, not because of the logic, but the fact that the character's not responding to anything, not reacting in the way that we're meant to say a horror film or something that somebody would freak out or question something, just accepting of it. And I actually kind of find myself got drawn into it. Then it got to a point where the film, it felt like it was coming to a conclusion, round about the point where the up until that point closed basement door was about to be opened, and I felt that was very much it was like coming to an end point. And then I looked at the running times, and there's still an hour to go. How is this possible?
Well, it's possible by bringing in the ice cream parlour, I think that it is. It's run by ghosts. I think that's the case. Yeah.
I've done quite a bit of reading since I watched this, and the big twist of it I'd worked out about 2/3 of the way through, because there were enough clues by that point. But apparently the book it's based on is much more explicit in what's going on, and Charlie Kaufman's screenplay has decided to obfuscate it a lot and be less on the nose. But I had worked out, and I think there's enough clues there about what's going on, but it's just, I'm not sure what it leads to. It's like, this is a film that I can see me hating, and I didn't, even though it did seem to last forever. But I don't know what the point of it is. I don't know what it's saying. I don't know whether I should put a spoiler warning in here, so skip forward 30 seconds, but the entire point of the film is that Jessie Buckley's character doesn't exist. She's an imagination. She's the janitors imagined her because the janitor's the older Jake. And it worked out by that point that, and I was actually fairly confident quite early on that Jake was the janitor, particularly when you find out that his overalls are in the washing machine in the basement.
Yeah.
But once you find that out, there are clues there, and even if some of it's quite obtuse, but there are. It's not so much the structure of that I get, and I have seen some websites where I was looking some information on this up, suggesting that you need to both watch the film and read the book it's based on twice to get it. Nope, that's not happening. It's got to be good enough in the first place to warrant that. Yeah, and it's constant references to Oklahoma, that great happy American musical by Rodgers and Hammerstein that has a song where the main character is trying to encourage his love rival to kill himself. The happy clappy musical. And then it seems so, almost completely based on reference, actually, because even the ending is a speech lifted directly from A Beautiful Mind.
Yeah.
It is John Nash's acceptance speech from that Ron Howard film. And the whole thing's based on reference because there's a speech and Jessie Buckley actually tries to sound like Pauline Kael. And even without knowing that when she's talking about a woman under influence, even if you don't know Pauline Kael's voice or anything, I think you could probably guess, because at that point they've been very clearly focused on the Pauline Kael book inside Jake's bedroom.
Yeah.
And then the weird thing is the picture of the young Jake looks exactly like a young Jessie Buckley. So there are clues there about what's going on. I just don't think it says anything useful. It feels like, in particular, that last section of the car journey where, with the Pauline Kael speech, and there's some other things going on there too, and when they take their strange trip to Tulsi Town, the Dairy Queen-like place, it feels to me not like it's trying to say anything, but rather that it's the writer saying, "Oh, look how clever I am." It really, really feels like that. I don't think it says anything about the human condition, or even cynically, perhaps something like, we're all products of our influences or something. I honestly don't think it's saying that. I think it's saying, look at all the stuff I've read. I'm better than you. Which is kind of how the character is. Jason, he's always portraying himself as the smartest person in the room and stuff. But I don't know, it feels quite egotistical.
Yeah, certainly by the time it got to that point, I had entirely checked out of all of it. But at that point, it felt very much like it was just trying to be like, look, if you told me this was a film student's interpretation of a David Lynch film, and this was their kind of knockoff of it, that would have felt about right for it. It just didn't have any kind of actual backup to its art. It didn't feel like it was saying anything at all. And I did get from that bit in there with the overalls. I suppose I did actually think this was the same. I suppose at that point, yes, I knew the twist then. I just didn't care, and so it didn't make any impact on me. So the whole thing was bad. I liked the dance number. Maybe we should just watch the dance number. It was quite good.
That's the one bit I didn't like, because I've never cared for interpretive dance because I never think it interprets anything. But there were bits of it I was really enjoying. I did actually enjoy the performances, although I think perhaps my favourite performance was David Thewlis, who was clearly just having a laugh.
Yes.
Everybody else is taking it so seriously, and he's just goofing about quite clearly. And that really amused me. It's just I don't think it said anything at this point. I did enjoy it. It's much more than I expected to after the way you had described it when you said you'd watched it. But I don't think there's quite as much mystery in there as people think there is. It definitely, again, from what I've read, there's no way I'm reading this book. It doesn't sound interesting, but the identity of the people in there is not as explicit as it is in the book. But I say I'd worked out, and I was fairly confident. I didn't think it was that out of the ordinary. I think that people would get that. And I was pretty convinced from the beginning the whole film was about suicide. which I think it
The
is.
title's a bit of an giveaway for that, yeah.
Well, yeah, see, thank you. This thing, like,
Doesn't seem like it. Sorry, maybe I'm missing something, but it didn't seem like it was a huge jump of logic. Sorry. Maybe I did get it, I just didn't care. That's the thing. It's just got.
but here's the thing, though, Scott. Again, from the reading I've done, and I read quite a few takes on this just to see what people thought of it, and like almost everything I read started off saying it could be taken in two ways. It could be that Jessie Buckley's character is a young woman, as she's called in the credits, is talking about ending the relationship, and like it took me like literally an hour and a half into the movie to even consider that other thing, because from the beginning I had assumed it was about suicide, and then 3/4 of the way through the film I'm like, oh wait, was she talking about the relationship? And then like 20 minutes later I was like, no, I was right.
Yes.
So I read all these takes and like you could take it two ways, and like, I honestly never considered another way till almost the end of the film, and I thought, have I been stupid? I'd assumed that's what she was talking about from the start of the film. I didn't think there was a double meaning at all. And like, no, there isn't. Yeah, I don't know what to say. That's the problem. I didn't not enjoy it, but I just didn't see the point of it. I clearly didn't have as bad a time with it as you. I certainly would struggle to recommend it. It's very much not for everybody. And if somebody's genuinely expecting you to watch the film and read the book twice before you get it all, it's like, no, it does not deserve that. It's not interesting enough to... I mean, it's clearly stuffed full of references and ideas, and you could spend a lot of time unpacking it. I just think by the time you did it, it's like, well, I've got the big pile of stuff now. It's telling me nothing.
God, now it's all over the floor. I'll need to sweep it up. What am I going to do with this?
I know,
this is just
one's leaked. I'm going to have to put some sand down to soak it up first.
Charlie, you've just made another big mess. Ooh. Did you ever go back to Synecdoche? Well, the film, not the place.
Are you confused about Schenectady?
Yeah.
Synecdoche and Schenectady. No, I've never actually seen Synecdoche, New York, I don't think.
Oh,
Philip
right.
Seymour Hoffman in that, isn't he?
Yes, that's one, yeah. I think
we covered that in the one-liner, but I have never seen it, so I guess it was just been you at the time. That was a while ago, though, wasn't it?
Yes, that's probably why I assumed you were there. It's you normally were. Yes, same trappings, I suppose. If you're the kind of person that got a lot of joy out of that one, you'll probably like this. If not, then probably not. I'm still in the hard pass bandwagon for this one. Wouldn't recommend. Yes, maybe give a go to Anomalisa instead as a previous work, which we'll probably get to covering fairly soon.
Clearly, my experience was somewhat better than Scott said. I had a better time with it, but I still don't think it's saying anything. I think it thinks it's a lot cleverer than it actually is.